Hi, I'm Paul Salmon. I'm a psychic medium. Today my guest is Laura J.W. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Laura J.W. Why
Yeah.
the J.W.?
JW is actually my middle name, Jane Weir. I am divorced, so I don't use my surname, and my maiden name is really not who I am now. So, yeah, so I use JW as a little bit of, just to create a little difference as well.
Well, it does, because it's got me asking already, hasn't
know,
it?
exactly.
So it makes
That's
you
my
wonder,
point.
doesn't it? Yes.
Exactly.
Another thing is I didn't
Yeah.
introduce you as such, because there's there's many strings to your bows, or your one bow.
Yeah.
How do you describe yourself?
I describe myself as a transformational coach and a mentor. I also facilitate workshops, and I do one-on-one sessions with people. So I like to not to define myself too much, and then I can create more from that.
Yeah, right. And how did this all begin, Laura?
Oh, goodness me.
Shall I just sit back and wait?
Well, it all began probably for me about 20 odd years ago. As a teenager, I had a terrible eating disorder. For 7 years, I was in a very dark, not very easy place. And I actually managed to get myself out of it by becoming more aware, by becoming more consciously aware of what I was creating. And I was also very fortunate to kind of come across or to discover a reality. I was sort of shown a reality which was a place of no judgment, of no separation, and where everything was just so different to what I had experienced. It happened in a split second for me. It was an experience, and so I kind of knew in my early 20s that there was something very different, that there was a possibility for us to be or to have a reality which was filled with peace and calm and harmony. And so I sort of began a mission, if you like, to discover how I could get that back.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So you say in a split second. Now,
Yes.
can you describe that to me?
Well, it was so it was a bit like the Narnia films, when you go through the wardrobe and you see a whole different reality, and then when she comes back out, there's been like a split second of time that's passed.
Okay.
And that kind of is what happened to me. It happened in a moment, but it felt like a lifetime almost. And yeah, so that's what happens.
So where were you when this happened?
I was actually on the top of a double-decker bus. I was going back from work, and I was asking questions to myself about, what else is possible, where else, where could I take my life, what else I could be. And I'd been asking these questions for quite a long time, and it just happened. So, yeah.
It's not as daft as it sounds, I'll tell you why. I had the same type of eye-opening moment, let's say. But I was at the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
So when you
Okay.
say double-decker bus, I can accept it,
Yeah.
no problem.
I think a lot of people do have an inner knowing that there is something more out there, or they have an experience like that. I know lots of people who've had those sort of experiences, and it just means that they have something that they want to go out and look for. Yeah.
But where do you start looking? Because you said you want to look into that moment again.
Yeah. Well,
Now-
that started me on a road of looking into all sorts of different modalities. I, became very hungry for information. I read loads and loads of books. I took loads of different courses. I did Reiki. I went to self-development workshops. And so for the next sort of 10 odd years, I did loads and loads of different things. But nothing was really getting me back to that place.
Okay.
Or nothing was really, or if they were, it was just little bits. But it didn't really ever seem that anything was sustainable. And so after a time, I actually stopped doing that researching and looking into different things, and I just started to create my own sort of modality, but my own way of teaching, my own way of helping other people through the experiences that I felt were sustainable.
Okay.
And then it was last year this time last year, I reached a plateau in my business, and I needed something different. I needed something more, and I created a demand on the universe. I need to have something more, otherwise I don't know where else I'm going to go. And I also wanted to start traveling more, and I started telling people this time last year that next year I'm going to start traveling, and so you can expect that from me. And then March this year, I stumbled across something called Access Consciousness, which is a modality. It's basically a set of tools that help you to reach exactly what I've been describing. And since I stumbled across Access Consciousness, my whole world has completely changed.
Has it? Yeah.
I've been traveling lots. I've got loads of traveling lined up for next year. My financial reality has completely shifted. I never really had enough money to do anything extra. You know, I have a good lifestyle, but I'm divorced. I'm a single mum. I've got 3 children, and I was just sort of, I was happy and content, but I didn't have anything extra in order to do anything more. And so I came across Access Consciousness quite by accident, and you know, I suddenly realized, or they showed me that all the things that I knew was possible was actually a reality. And yeah, so everything has changed since
So
then.
you've read many books, I imagine, then?
Yeah.
Workshops you've done?
Yes.
Teachings?
Yeah.
Talks? Do you go to talks? And are
Yeah,
there such things as talks?
I was going to all sorts of different talks, and you know, and there are so many different tools that you can take from all these different things, but there wasn't any one modality out there that I felt was real or was sustainable.
Okay.
There were just little tools or little pieces that I could take from each one and add them to my toolbox, if you like, until I came to Access Consciousness. And you know, for all of you out there, go and have a look at their website. It's www.accessconsciousness.com, and you know, it's the founder is Gary Douglas, and co-founder is Dane Heer, and they travel the world, basically inspiring and empowering people to step into their greatness.
Right. So is it all about finding yourself and being in a happier place?
Yes. Well, it's all about being you.
Okay.
It's about well, they give you all these different tools to basically to become more of who you are, because you know, so many people are creating their life based on what they think they should be doing, or based on the judgments of that other people place on them, and you know, they're not actually being everything that they are, and they're not asking for more. You know, they're staying in a little box of safety, if you like, or they're not expanding themselves because they don't know that that's possible. And that's where Access Consciousness is so brilliant, because it just gives you all these possibilities of being able to create more for your life and living.
Now, as yourself, are you still searching, or have you gained everything you're happy with at the moment?
Oh, I don't think that's ever...
No, I was going to say it's a big order, isn't it?
It's a big order, because ultimately, you know, there's always more. You can always have more. You can, you know, with everything that you choose to do, you're always creating more of it. So it's about creating more, but from a platform of of being in a place of all of you.
Right.
So, you know, once upon a time, I was choosing through a need to either be happier or a need to not be lonely. You know, my relationships, I was choosing because I didn't want to be on my own, or I wanted to be loved. I needed to be loved. And, you know, but that's all shifted now. So I'm no longer, or very rarely am I actually choosing from that basis. I'm now choosing because I want to create more.
So going back to that moment on that double-decker bus,
Yes.
have you found some of that, have you retrieved some of that feeling?
Yes, well actually, the next time I actually was able to get back to that place was then sort of 12 years later. Well, it was actually 12 years later, it was actually 12 years ago from now, when I was living in the country, and I was walking along, and I suddenly just experienced the closeness with all the animals and all the plants, And I know it sounds silly to some, but it just seemed like there were just so many different colours that I hadn't been aware of before. And yeah, it
So
just felt
is it like your
amazing.
consciousness opening up?
I think it was more aware. It was just being
Awareness.
totally aware of everything
Yeah.
and being connected to that awareness.
Okay.
And I think that that's what it is. It's about having that awareness of everything around you and being in cooperation with that and harmony with that.
Right. Now, is that what you're trying to help other people to come to terms with now?
Well, I'm now basically showing people that there is this possibility and being an invitation for people to step into that.
Right.
You know, and that comes in many different layers. So there may be people that I speak to who are at a very, very low ebb, in which case they are not going to be ready to maybe hear what I've just told you. So it's just taking it the next step, level up.
Right.
It's giving them the invitation to take a step up from where they are now.
Right. So what sort of people comes to see you?
Anybody. Anybody who's asking for something different or to change something.
Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe...
But there are a
Peop-
lot of people who are not asking for that. They're very happy to be unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know that there's anything different to step
Right.
into. So that's their reality, and they simply won't choose anything different. So they won't hear me, or they won't be interested in
So
what I
are they
have to
sort of
offer.
stuck in the comfort zone, even though they're not happy? Kind of thing?
Well, it's like a comfort zone because it's who they think they are.
Yeah.
It's what has created their reality and their world for them for so long that they don't know how to step out of that and be something different.
Right.
And they're not asking for that. So I tend to see people who are asking for something different. You know, they come to me or they hear me and they hear where I've been and the changes that I've created and they go, okay, so maybe there's something there for me too.
Well, maybe by going through that divorce and having children, you can empathise now with people who are going through that themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Because don't you deal with people who are going through addictions and marriage,
Yeah.
need a bit of guidance and stress
Yeah.
and...
Well, I was in a very addictive pattern of behaviour myself, so I understand a little bit about where that
Yeah.
or what that is for some people. I've also been married, so I've been through divorce.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Okay. I read a little bit about you saying that you've trained yourself to become highly intuitive now. How did that come about? Or is
Well,
that by gaining all these little tools?
Well, that's
Combining.
more awareness. That's
Yeah.
being aware of what's going on around you. So when you function from awareness,
Yeah.
you have a capacity to be able to perceive what's going on in other people's worlds,
Right.
and be willing, therefore, to be whatever is needed of you in that moment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So when you go out in your everyday life, say down the shops or just walking,
Yeah.
can you sort of pick up people, their vibrations, and think, oh, they're not too happy and that kind of thing?
If I ask the question,
Oh, right. Okay.
if I'm asking, okay, so what's going on here, then yes.
Yeah.
Because when you ask a question, and this is another tool that Access Consciousness give you, is to live in question, because whenever you ask a question, it actually opens up a possibility for what that is. Whenever you go into conclusion about something or you judge something, you close down all the possibilities of anything outside of that. You don't see anything more than what it is that you've just judged or concluded.
Oh, right. So when you
Yeah.
judge, or anyone who judges, you've made a decision,
Yes,
haven't you?
and you see just that. You see just that, and you don't then see anything else that's possible.
Right.
So when you judge that you're not good enough
Yeah.
for a relationship, for instance, nobody wants you, then that tends to be created. You then just see that.
And you've got blinkers on,
Yes.
and that's it.
But when you ask a question such as, okay, so what more can this be, or what can I do different
Yeah.
that will allow me to have more, then suddenly more possibilities show up for you. You just, it's about asking a question without a need for an answer. That sort of creates a whole different level of possibilities.
Oh. I'm going to say something now to you,
Okay.
because we had a little chat a few weeks ago, didn't
Yes.
we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And we met 7 years ago, actually, at one time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I was in a bad place, but I wasn't too happy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as soon as you left, I felt wonderful, and I had this energy shift, and I went back to work,
Yeah.
and I've been fine ever since.
Yeah.
Now, I've only ever met one other person like you
Okay.
right? And they all they did was they talked to me.
Yeah.
And they said goodbye.
Okay.
I felt fantastic. Now,
Mm-hmm.
is that because you've absorbed bits and like you're fully contained in yourself? Have you become this healer without having to work? Do you know what I mean? Are you like a
Yeah.
living battery now?
Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if I've ever seen it in that way, but maybe it was because I had an awareness of what was going on in your world that I was able to, and I was able to perceive that. So without judging that,
Yeah.
I was able to maybe be whatever it was that you
That
required
I
in
needed
that
at
moment.
that time, yeah. But we didn't
Yeah.
really discuss about me, did we? Well, a little bit.
A little
but,
bit. We talked a little, yeah, we
But
did.
something, there's a couple of words you said
Yeah.
to me that really hit home,
Mhm.
and it just went from here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I do think that because you've trained in so many facets, that you've
Yeah.
become this healer. And no, good.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all right. Don't want to flatter you too much, but it's
Well,
like.
it's nice to know that all this work is actually paying off.
But I'm not comparing you to Jesus, but Jesus,
No,
you
don't.
know, I wouldn't dare do that. But Jesus was a healer, and you just had
Yeah.
to touch. And I felt that with you, and I felt it in one other person.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I might get into this myself, you know.
Yeah.
But you're in a much happier place yourself now.
Well,
looking
it's
back.
just that I have moments where it, like all of us, I'm human, and there are moments where things don't always work out the way I want it to, and I do go into sadness or places of discomfort, but I don't. Whereas before I would judge myself and make myself wrong for that, I don't do that anymore. So I just allow myself to be in that moment, but I always give myself a time frame. So I say to myself, okay, so I'm going to feel bad, and I'm going to feel really bad, and I'm going to allow myself to feel really bad, but I'm only going to feel bad for, I don't know, for 6 hours, and then I'm going to get myself out of it. Because I have the tools to be able to get myself out of it. I know how to do that. And actually, by the end of the 6 hours, or the time I've given myself, that's enough. Okay, I've had enough, and there are usually other things that then start to happen, which I don't want to happen. So it's like, okay, I'm now creating something I don't want. So let's get out of it and do something different. Let's change it. So what can I do differently now to change it? So it's about asking questions around how to create something different.
Okay. What are you up to now then, Laura? What's next for you?
So, well, as I said, I'm doing a fair bit with Access Consciousness. I'm training to be a facilitator in that because I think it's amazing, and I really, really would definitely hope that everybody who's listening to this would actually go and look up www.access.com and have a look at the website. There are so many amazing tools and dynamic tools that actually do work. As I say, I've been doing it for 8 or 9 months now, and it's completely changed things for me. So, I'm training to become a facilitator in that, which is great. So I'm doing a fair bit of traveling with that because we have to go to different classes in order to become a facilitator around the world. And the other thing is I have just been asked to host a radio show, which starts next month.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that. It's CTR Network.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have my own show.
And what's that include? I mean, it's about your work, no doubt. And
yeah, it's a network, a consciousness network, and I personally am going to be inviting guests onto my show to talk about different things. So it's exciting. Next year is going to be very exciting. Lots of travelling, lots of change for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How about a book? Have you written a book about yourself yet?
Well,
a lot of people do, you know.
I know, it's interesting you should say that. I would love to write a book, and I have been thinking about that for some time. I have had somebody come and interview me for a book that they're writing. So on the back of that, I am being a little bit inspired to do something, but nothing as yet. But yeah, it's on.
I always
on the
think
right.
it's interesting to learn where people were
Yeah.
and how they became what they
Yes.
are now. And
Yeah.
I think your book on what your life would be.
Yes.
Not all of your life, but the bits
Well,
that
the different-
where you are
exactly.
now. Yeah. Now, I do want to finish up with talking about your CD,
Okay,
right?
my
Because
CD.
I got hold of your CD a few years ago,
Okay.
and even my mum likes it.
Oh, fantastic.
And Tell us,
Yeah.
you tell us about it.
Okay, well, I did my CD, I created a CD about 6 years ago now. It's called Pure, and it's 6 soundtracks of me singing, totally unaccompanied. There are no words or lyrics. It's just, it's pure harmonics, and basically it's a CD based on vibrational healing. And I created it. I created it 6 years ago. So I've obviously changed and moved into different areas since then. But it was something that I really wanted to do back then.
But each track has a different tone, is it? A different vibration?
Yes, and it was, I just did it. I just sang it, and I went into a studio and I created it there and then.
Right, and how do these tracks help particular people?
Well, they are. It's basically a set of notes, which is a phrase of about 15 seconds, which is looped, and because it's looped, it kind of acts as a very calming, very peaceful, healing kind of thing to listen to.
It does. It really gets me inside there, and it's good for meditating with as well.
Well, exactly. And I can remember when my children were smaller, I used to put my CD on for them at night, and they used to fall asleep. In fact, the chap who produced it for me said he could only work on it for about 10 minutes because he'd feel like just, like
it's no good for driving, I must say.
No, exactly.
But you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Any thoughts of doing any more CDs?
I haven't concluded no to that. I haven't concluded yes to that. We'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that recently. So,
Right.
yeah.
But how about hobbies, or how do you enjoy yourself? Or are you too busy? I can't imagine you've got time, actually.
Well, the thing is, what I do, I love so much. It actually is something that I do 24/7. And I love traveling. I love being around people and helping people. And so I do, do this pretty much as I possibly can, because I consider that to be not only my work, but also my living.
Yeah.
But one of the things I do, which I love doing also, which I do every year, is I work in a hospital in the south of France and help sick people for a week every year. And I've been doing that for quite a long time.
Have you?
And so so I do that, and I love doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very rewarding.
So do you take each day as it comes, or do you like to plan ahead a little bit?
Well, the thing is,
You have to plan ahead, don't you?
Well, it's about choosing in the moment, but choosing your future, but in the moment. So, I do plan ahead, but I don't do it too much. I don't. Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer, because there are different aspects.
Maybe you have ideas and different times for these ideas to manifest. Maybe.
Exactly.
Well, you're here today. We've done it now, and we'll see where this will manifest itself.
Yeah.
Laura, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
For
I've
being
loved
my
it.
guest. How do we get in touch with you? You have a website.
Yes, I do. I have a website, www.laurajw.com, and also a Facebook page, Laura JW, so you can look me up there.
Yeah. Or if you forget that, wind this back, or just type Google Laura JW.
Yes, exactly.
Or contact me at Eternal Spirit.
Yes.
Laura, thanks ever so much.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you again sometime.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Thank you.